When I was a boy, I saw a lot of people eating a lot of weird things. And I'm not just talking about some crazy way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about my immediate family right there in my home, in town, where the streets have curbs. One such meal may be the most horrifying meal I have ever seen eaten. And if you've watched me eat some strange things, or if you've heard my story about squirrel dumplings, you know that I've seen some pretty weird stuff. But remember, I ate the sea loaf. I ate the squirrel dumplings. This is a meal that I had no part of. All I could do was sit back and observe in horror. One day, my parents prepared a meal of pig ears, pig tails, and pig feet. First off, let me just say, I don't even understand this meal. I guess it all came in at one time, maybe, because they just killed some hogs somewhere. I don't know. But just think about this from a scientific culinary standpoint. Pig ears, pig tails, and pig feet are all different sizes. Can you imagine the disappointment if you cooked your pig feet perfectly only to realize that you had overdone the ears? That's enough to ruin Christmas. But for whatever reason, that's what was for supper that night. Ears, tails, and feet. I don't know what hurt me more as a child, seeing the horrors of that meal, or just the feeling of knowing somehow that I was not a part of this. I watched my mother, father, and sister gnawing on pig parts. And the one thing I knew was that I can't possibly be one of these people. I remember the question in my mind that I dare not ask. Where is my real family, and what have you done to them? Most of you have probably never thought about this, but if you're eating pig ears, pig tails, and pig feet, you need a pretty big bowl. I remember my sister had what looked like a big silver stainless steel mixing bowl, and it's just piled in there. There's hooves and curly tails and lobes sticking up out of the bowl as she's feasting like a lunatic. That's the part that really got me. I mean, we all feel pretty weird about our parents at some time in our life, but I always thought my sister was at least my real sister. I was there when they brought her home from the hospital, and I held her in my arms. And there she was, dining on the throwaways of a giant rat. And as she feasted, I just stared in disbelief, wondering what was wrong with her. What was wrong with me? I truly didn't understand what was happening there in my living room that day. Yes, that's right, we were in the living room. I guess that counts as movie food in my house. My sister was right in front of me in her chair. Beside of her was my mother in her chair. Behind them was my dad in his chair. And I was sitting on the couch because I was such an odd man out, I didn't even have a chair. I'm just sitting on the couch. There's no food for me. I probably don't even like what they're watching on television. And as I'm staring at my sister, it was almost as if she could sense me looking, wondering, thinking. And she looked over at me with anger. And I swear what I see in my mind's eye, it may not have really happened. But when she turned to me with her mouth like this, it looked exactly like the shark in Jaws when it's coming at the camera with the tank in its mouth and it's like chomping and it's got bits of flesh and stringy things hanging out of its teeth. That's what I saw in my sister's mouth. Pieces of pork flesh dangling from the gnawing and chewing and knuckle sucking that she had been taking part of. And she looked over at me with her mouth just a horror show of nightmarish proportions. And she said, "Don't you tell nobody at school about this." You see, my sister was very feminine. She was a cheerleader. She made good grades. A few years later, she would be the homecoming queen. She didn't want people there to know her dark secret. Well, I got news for you people. I didn't tell anybody at school what I had seen that day. Not because I was ashamed. I loved telling stories like that. I kept it a secret to protect my baby sister. Hope you liked today's video. Back next Thursday with a new one. Like and subscribe, but more importantly, if you have anything that you'd like to tell me or ask or recommend, leave a comment here or on Facebook. I would love to hear it. Thanks.